button and subscribe to the channel. Help us hit that 12,000 subscriber milestone. You guys have been incredible all year long, and we're building something special here on latest Los Angeles Dodgers news. Now let's see how ESPN reacted to learning that the Dodgers are meeting to acquire Cody Bellinger. Information that comes from MLB itself.
For you.
This is my first time on since you've come back home, isn't it?
I think it might be. I don't know. It might be. It could be. It is. Listen, Jeff, my first question for you. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being ecstatic and 10 being out of their skulls ecstatic, Major League Baseball is what after this World Series, Jeff Passan?
I would say probably an 8.
Okay.
And yeah, how can you be anything but ecstatic after that World Series? Right. It was just, it was the culmination, Rich, of an October that to me illustrated and displayed everything that's great about baseball right now. You had stars performing at historically great levels. You had individual and team performances that were beyond expectations. And you had more series than ever go the distance, including the World Series, which I've covered 22 of them now, I believe. And it's hard to say that any of them have been better than this one. Now, I was still in college back in 2001, and certainly that one gives 2025 a run for its money in terms of this century. And my first World Series was 2004. Historically, that was a big deal. 2016 had an awesome Game 7, and the outcome with the Cubs winning for the first time in more than a century was great. But just in terms of like pure baseball and the things that happened in the series and the quality of the games and the players who were involved, it's really tough to beat this year between Los Angeles and Toronto.
Yeah, and at one point I think I posted out, Jeff, that this World Series ran out of things I'd never seen before. And there's 2 moments that will live, I think, in nightmare fuel for Blue Jays fans until they get a chance to win it again and actually pull it off. I kind of want to pick your brain on the backstories of it or what people are talking about it. And the first one was that moment in Game 6 when Barger hits the ball in the talk about game of inches. It wedges in between the bottom of the padding and the warning track. And there's a lot of talk about how this should not have been a dead ball. This should have been everybody keeps running. And instead, this was improperly called a ground rule double and dead baseball. What's the scoop here on that, Jeff?
I think it was the right call. I mean, you saw that photo. If you guys can bring that back up again, just look at the way that the fence has moved. There's a little indentation at the bottom, and part of it has been pushed up. And was it wedged to the point where Justin Dean could not have reached in, grabbed it, pulled it out, and thrown it back? No, it turns out. But I don't think John Tumpain, who was the umpire in left field, could make that determination from his position. What he saw was a ball that looked like it could be stuck there. And in the moment, you have to make a judgment call. And the judgment call that he made there was that it was a dead ball and that it was an automatic 2 bases for Addison Barger. And it's, you talk about game of inches with football. Baseball feels like a game of millimeters, man. Because in addition to that, in the 9th inning, bottom of the 9th, in Game 7, the difference between Isaiah Kiner-Falefa's foot hitting the plate and that one spike on the bottom of Will Smith's shoe going down and touching the plate, I mean, it was, you see it right there. Like one spike. That is the difference between the Los Angeles Dodgers remaining alive and eventually winning the World Series and the Toronto Blue Jays walking it off and being World Series champions for the first time since 1993.
Baseball being the first major sport in this 21st century of instant replay, awarding a championship
decided
on a reversal of a call of an umpire. That was in the ether as it was going down. And that's the second play I was going to bring up to you, Jeff. What is the backstory behind Isaiah Kiner-Falefa's lead off of third base? There's so much talk about there wasn't any secondary lead and why he wasn't taking it. And then we all know his decision to slide foot first, not head first, not run through the plate when it was a force play, not a tag play. Jeff, what's the backstory that you heard about that one?
There are a few different elements that we have to talk about here, Rich, and I think it actually goes back to Game 6 and goes back to Addison Barger being on second base, and a line drive gets hit out to left field. Kike Hernandez charges it. Barger makes a bad read, gets too far off the bag, and gets doubled off to end the game. And I think that sort of thing informs just how conservative the Blue Jays were when it came to the ninth inning of the next game, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is on third, bases are loaded, and Max Muncy is a couple of steps off the bag. Now, typically speaking, hitters are told to take a lead about equivalent to the distance between the third baseman and the bag, with the idea being that if a line drive gets hit to third base and the third baseman snags it, you do not want to be further away from the bag and run the risk of getting doubled off. Now, Dalton Varsho was at the plate. Dalton Varsho does not hit the ball to the opposite field. Doesn't matter where it's pitched. And so that wasn't quite as big a concern, but Carlos Febles, the third base coach for the Blue Jays, walked to the line and put his right foot down and pulled it back while still on the ground, essentially saying to Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, this is where you need to end your lead. And it was not as far as Max Muncy. They were playing very conservative at that point. But beyond just the potential for a double play is the potential for a back pick too. If you take a larger secondary lead, Will Smith could theoretically throw behind and try and pick him off at third base. That being said, the lead is as egregiously small as it was. That's not the issue. It's the slide. But guys, play on instinct, Rich. And your instinct from all of the reps that you've had throughout your career is going to be to slide into home plate and not to run through. So the question of should he have slid head first as opposed to feet first, that's reasonable. I get that. But man, it's just such a hard thing in the moment. And yet those very minuscule decisions that are made in the moment are the differences between a championship and an absolutely heartbreaking loss.
And then, you want to talk instinct, Jeff Passan. Dave Roberts' instinct, my goodness, his spidey sense in games 6 and 7 in particular were off the charts. Why did he decide in the middle of the ninth inning with Yamamoto on the mound to insert Andy Pages into center field? Because after this IKF play came the moment that I will never forget. Kike Hernandez will never forget. Dodger fans will never forget. Why was Pages inserted when he was?
Before I answer that question, yes. Did you know that Kike Hernandez, when he was laying face down on the warning track afterward, do you know why he was face down like that?
Go for it.
He thought that the ball had fallen, and he thought that the World Series was over. And Pages said to him, "What are you doing?" And Kike said to him, "We lost." And Pages was like, "No, we didn't."
Isn't that great? Unbelievable.
We did not. The answer is because with one out and the potential